How powerful is vocabulary?
Oh,
And how should we really think about the words we use and the thoughts because of those words, how they affect our chemistry, the fluids that are created in our brain? I mean, everything. Vocabulary goes a long way. But
yeah.
really, the underlining vocabulary is how could we use a better vocabulary to illustrate maybe the positive aspects of every obstacle instead of the negatives?
I took my glasses off, so it's serious time now.
Yes.
My degree is in English literature. I love language. I love writing it. I love reading it. I love hearing it. I love using it. And it is probably the most powerful tool that we have and the most powerful tool of destruction that we have. And words and language, we talk to ourselves all day, and we're either saying good stuff or not so good, positive or negative, but our minds are very seldom silent. And we have critics, and we have cheerleaders, and we have editors, and we have all kinds of people kicking around in our heads all the time. And I do believe that language is so, so powerful. And, if you're trying something, it's an excuse for failure. It just is. If you're lucky, then it means you have absolutely nothing to do with the outcome. And I think if we can help to strengthen people's language, we go a long way to help them straighten out their outcome. And I had this conversation again, just such relevant examples in the last few weeks of my life on the power of how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to others and how we feel, not always by the words that are spoken to us, but the emotional weight that we attach to those words. And so the cleaner, the clearer, the stronger in a positive way, because we can do this in the negative as well. Mm-hmm. You can use language, the more you're setting yourself up internally for the victory. So if you're starting a project, just say, I have an outcome that I'm pursuing, not I will try to achieve. Try is one of those really wishy-washy words that means maybe, maybe not, most likely not, mm-hmm. as I'm just kind of trying.
Mm-hmm. See, please don't try. Do it or don't do it.
Yeah, do it or don't do it, but don't try. And, so I would suggest to clean out the wishy-washy, the vague, the generic language, the language that we don't really know what it means anyway. If you're having a conversation with someone in business and they say they're a professional, I would much rather know what they mean by that word rather than just use the word professional, because by using that word, it leaves it open to my interpretation. And my interpretation as a client or customer might be very different than their interpretation as the business owner. And now we have a disconnect. And my expectation is different than what they ever intended to deliver. Yes. So if by professional you mean that you have, 98% accuracy, that you show up on time, you do what you said you were going to do, all of those kinds of things, then tell me those things. Don't just tell me you're a professional, because I don't know what that means to you. Mm-hmm. And I want to hear what that means to you, because then we have a clearer communication. Mm-hmm. The next thing I would do in terms of language would be to take a look at those words that are unintentionally harmful, that we take for granted. How many of us have said we're going to kill time? Mm-hmm. That's a very violent act.
Yeah, and well, also time is the only thing that's against us when you really look at it. And the hands of time, as Nickelback says, the hands of time are never on your side. Yeah. And it always just amazes me the amount of people that say, well, I'm just going to kill some time for the next 2 hours. Like, wow. Yeah. You'll never get that back. Like, you could get friendships back. You could, this kind of thing, but you can't get time back. What you do with your time is I remember Earl Nightingale said it the best when he said, time can't be managed. You can only manage activities.
Right.
And
choices.
Yes. And, but then time management took on this huge, dramatic, and hundreds of millions of dollars are spent on time management when really we got to stop and manage activities.
Yes, we need to make better choices.
Yes.
As a coach, one of the things that people come to coaches for is for time management and for the ability to multitask. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to be in so much trouble when this gets out, because first of all, like Nightingale, I don't believe you can manage time. You can only manage yourself and your choices in the time that you have, period.
Yes.
I can't invent it. I can't make more of it. So I'm not really managing it. I'm managing myself within that parameter. And the other thing is multitasking. And I don't believe in it. I don't think we can do it. Do I think that we can toggle between activities very rapidly? I do. I do believe we can do that. And some people are phenomenal at it. And I always get pushback when I say that, by the way. But in terms of multitasking simultaneously, we can't do three things at 100%. That would be 300%. We don't have that. So when we're talking about managing tasks and multitasking, we're really just toggling very, very rapidly. But, I'll say that in a group, and inevitably I will have several people that will push back on that and prove to me that they're multitasking. And I'm not there to debate that. If they believe that that's what they're doing, I'm cool. I mean, I can't. I'm the first woman on the planet to admit, and maybe the only woman on the planet to admit, that I am not a good multitasker. I am a focuser, and I need to focus on what I'm doing one thing at a time. And the older I get, the less quickly I toggle. So I have to be aware of that too.
And you know what? If you're multitasking and you're getting 25% done of one thing and then 25% done of another thing, then 25% done of another thing, at the end of the day, a lot of the times you don't truly complete it in the fashion you would have wanted to complete it anyways. Mm-hmm. And if you start with the 10 most important things you got to do today, and you start at number one, and then you move to number two once number one's done. But once number one's done and you move to number two, you don't think of number one, you give no thought to number three, you focus on number two. And I know a lot of the times we don't have time to do that. And, a phone call will come in and then we have to go off on this other path. Yeah. But if you can manage your activities like that, do you not think that the production value of what you're doing will rise?
Absolutely. For sure it will. Now, the thing that I have heard on many occasions, and if people were if this was live and we had an audience, they would say to you, but wait, I have a boss.
Yes.
And my boss comes in and I'll be in the middle of using your technique and they'll say, oh, by the way, Linda, we need you to go over here. And oh, Dan, can you go over there? And this is really important. And this is urgent now. And so that reality comes into play as well. And so again, in some cases, I think, and not to oversimplify, but it's that fear base. If I say no to my boss, are they going to fire me? Mm-hmm. So I can have the best system in place. And I agree with you 120%, if that was possible, that we would be more productive and more efficient if we could sit down and focus on one thing and finish that one thing and move on to the next thing. If we were sort of in control of all of the dynamics in our homes and our workplaces, but that isn't the reality either. So that the trick becomes, how do you know what to do and when you're going to be the most productive and the most efficient, and at the same time be able to respond to the interruptions of the people that actually sign your checks. That's the challenge for most people.